So I'd like to talk a little bit about change control after validation. Here's kind of a lengthy quote from the General Principles of Software Validation. Again, I'd like to read this to you because I think it really brings home an important point. Another related characteristic of software is the speed and ease with which it can be changed. Some people see that as a benefit. Some people see that as a drawback. The speed and ease with which it can be changed. This factor can cause both software and non-software professionals to believe that software problems can be corrected easily. Combined with a lack of understanding of software, it can lead managers to believe that tightly controlled engineering is not needed as much for software as it is for hardware. In fact, the opposite is true. Because of its complexity, the development process for software should be even more tightly controlled than for hardware in order to prevent problems that cannot be easily detected later in the development process. This is very true for software changes as well. You can change software so easily and so quickly. Oh yeah, I'll just put another clause in that case statement. Oh, don't do that, please. When I've worked on in the commercial software industry, and we've been very close to release time, I've had to actually stop software engineers from changing the software. They just wanted to get one last change in before the release date, and nothing could sabotage 6 months of hard work quicker than an ill-conceived change very late in the development process. Causes all havoc to come out. What's happened is you've worked so hard to stabilize that software, and then this poorly thought out change is introduced at the last minute, and everything starts breaking right and left. So you need to be able to control changes just as much, with as much discipline and robustness as you did control the original validation. In software state, we talk about maintaining the validated state of software. Once software gets in a validated state, you need to keep it there. Change control is the only way to do that. As we see from GPSV, all software changes shall be validated before approval and issuance. All software changes. And the only way you can validate software changes is by having change control in place. If you look at process validation, and again, the general principles and practices for process validation, they talk in a section called change development, a description of the plan changed, a well-justified rationale for the change, an implementation plan, and quality unit approval before implementation must be documented. Depending on how the proposed change might affect product quality, additional process design and process qualification activities could be warranted. We talked a little bit about these yesterday, so I won't spend a lot of time on them, but just want to give you the regulators, again, emphasize the regulator's perspective on what you need to do for change after you've entered a validated state. So if you're going to maintain this validated state of a process or a piece of software or an equipment, full change control must remain in effect until retirement of the process, software, or equipment. In your change control process, through impact analysis, must assure that all elements of the system get updated if applicable. For each and every change, you need to look at, is this going to affect software and data? Don't forget the data of the system. Is this going to affect hardware? Now, that's one of the changes that we often have where the IS group is always looking at new servers to run the software on. Cheaper, faster, smaller, easier to maintain, save some money. And they're swapping out servers fairly frequently, and we're going, what kind of effect is that going to have on the software? And they tell us, oh, don't worry, we use virtual server environment. That insulates you from the hardware changes. Ha! Yeah, right. Think it through first. System documentation and user documentation. Now, system documentation is everything that supports the validation and configuration of your system, and user documentation is what the user uses to understand how to operate the software. What about the training, and what about procedural documentation, standard operating procedures and work instructions? This is your impact analysis. This is after a system is in a validated state. If any of these elements are allowed to go into unvalidated state, the whole system goes into an unvalidated state. You need to keep every single one in a validated state via maintenance through change control.